This might be the most important banner decision in version 4.2, and if you get it wrong, you could waste months of resources. We've got 2 brand new elation DPS, 6 reruns, and honestly, not all of them are worth your pulls. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly who you should pull and who you should skip. Alright, let's get started. Now looking at the banners, we've got 2 new reruns and 6 reruns. But let's be real, the main focus is going to be silverwolf 999 and evanescia. Both are elation DPS, but they are clearly designed for different teams, so you don't run them together in the same comp. And let's start with silverwolf 999. Her early access is coming soon, followed by any possible changes that could happen to her kit. But from what we know, she's an elation DPS with built-in true damage, skill point recovery, punchline generation, and honestly, some insane visuals. To keep it simple, she's a top tier elation main DPS. But once you actually look at her kit, it gets way more interesting. Her core mechanic revolves around something called hidden MMR, which she gains through punchlines generated by the team. Think of it as her personal energy system, so her gameplay loop is pretty straightforward. Generate as many punchlines as possible, stack hidden MMR, and then unleash her ultimate. And speaking of her ultimate, this is where things go crazy. She enters a special mode with insane animations and creates a special zone. During her attacks, there's a loading bar with checkpoints. Every time it stops, she randomly pulls one of the 3 weapons. A giant sword that hits all enemies and deals bonus true damage to the highest HP target, a bomb that damages the enemies and restores skill points, or a Pac-Man weapon that generates extra punchlines for the team. At the end, she just blasts everything with a ridiculous laser barrage. On top of that, her zone adds even more value. When teammates consume skill points inside it, there's a chance to trigger this weapon's effect again through a blind box mechanic. So she's not just dealing damage herself, she's also contributing during your teammates' turns. That makes units like Sparksy incredibly strong with her, since she burns through skill points fast. Her skill also has 2 modes. Outside of ultimate, it builds her energy. Inside ultimate, it becomes a heavy damage tool. Simple but effective. And she even has a global passive that helps prevent crowd control effects on your team. It's not game breaking, but it's definitely a nice bonus. So overall, her playstyle is clear: generate resources, enter god mode, and deal massive damage while supporting the team at the same time. One thing you should remember that this variant of Silverwolf is the main push character in this patch. We have seen this pattern before with characters like Firefly and Castries. These flagship units usually get long-term support, meaning they get stronger over time as new teammates and content are released. So even if her team is not fully complete yet, her value will likely grow. Right now, her core synergy seems to revolve around Sparksy and Yao Guang, with EMC as possible alternative. But in the future, we could definitely see even stronger teammates replacing some of these slots. So should you pull her? If you're planning to play elation teams, then yes, absolutely. But if you are unsure, the safest option is to wait for full numbers and testing. Overall, I would say she is a high priority if you really care about the meta, since she is the ultimate DPS from Elation Path and the next endgame content buffs usually revolves around Elation Shield. So pulling her now is not a decision full of regrets. Now moving on to evanescia, she's also elation DPS, but her design leans more toward energy-based gameplay. Her skill targets a main enemy and nearby targets, while also generating 10 punchlines. Now the most interesting part of her kit is definitely her talent. Evanescia built something called certified banger stacks, and these stacks are directly tied to her energy. Basically, when she gains energy, she also gains certified banger, and when she gains certified banger, she gets more energy in return. So it's a loop. Energy gives stacks, stacks gives energy. And it gets even better with teammates that provide energy or help generate punchlines, since those can also convert into more certified banger. On top of that, she can also absorb some of her teammates' CB stacks, either when they gain them or when those stacks expire. So no matter what, she's always stacking more. At the end of the day, the takeaway is simple: evanescia gains a lot of certified banger, and that translates into a lot of energy. Because of that, her gameplay loop is very straightforward. Stack as much energy, punchlines, and certified banger as possible, then keep spamming her ultimate for massive damage. And once she builds enough energy, Master Fox will also launch additional attacks that hit all enemies and generate even more energy for her. This purpose is not just to hit enemies, but also can increase the enemy's damage taken, so that it prepares you well just before you finish enemy with your ultimate to deal massive damage. She can store up to 2 ultimates similar to Argenti, which suggests she's heavily focused on burst damage cycles. That means her gameplay is all about spamming her ultimate as often as possible. Her elation skill is pretty simple, it deals AoE damage and gives her some certified banger. From what we have seen, her team setup is completely different from Silverwolf's. She's paired with units like EMC, Sunday, and Huahua, basically energy focused supports. That also tells us something important. She's a bit less dependent on elation-specific teammates compared to silverwolf. The biggest issue right now is uncertainty. We don't really know what her best future teammates will look like, especially since current elation supports don't fully match her energy-focused kit. That's why, compared to silverwolf, her team feels less stable for now. But now we at least have Wolf. Since she's going to have a Nova Flare buff, she will likely become a very strong sustain option again, especially for evanescia. And since she's available in the shop, picking her up could be a solid move. But keep in mind she might get replaced in the future if a dedicated elation sustain gets released. So the big question, should you pull silverwolf as the main elation DPS or evanescia? Honestly, it's too early to say. Both of them are main DPS units in the same patch, and they fill similar roles. The best move is to wait for testing and see how they are perform, or just go with your preference. I would say evanescia is a high priority to pull if you are looking for elation DPS, but since we all know her first to second eidolons are that good, pulling her vertically can also be a wise option. If we take her eidolon into account, then her pull priority is still in high. Alright, moving on to reruns. On the first half we have Firefly, Dahlia, and Castoris, while on the second phase of 4.2 we'll have Sunday, 3B, and also Facial's banner. For Firefly and Dahlia, only pull if you are into break teams, otherwise, skip. When it comes to super break performance, I would say the team's overall ceiling is reaching a new peak again, mainly thanks to Firefly's Nova Flare. It allows her combustion state to last longer as long as she keeps breaking enemies, but this buff does not really change much if you are running her with Dahlia, since you should already have near 100% ultimate uptime with both of them in the same team. Firefly is still strong, especially with her new buffs, but break teams require high investment to compete with the new archetypes like Elation. Pairing her with Dahlia could bring her back into the meta, but if you are not planning on forming and using break teams, especially want to build them from scratch, I would suggest you to skip this archetype and invest in Elation instead, because it's going to be really expensive. That case will be different if you are having a really high budget though. For players thinking about vertical investment, I would recommend going for E2 Firefly, especially if you already have her at E0. After that, you can choose between E1 or S1 Dahlia, depending on what you value more. So again, Firefly pull priority, or should I say the break team's pull priority, could be different in some cases. If you are currently 0 invested in this team, then their pull priority is going to be low. But if you are planning to either vertically invest in the break DPS, which in this case is Firefly, or going for S1 or E1 Dahlia to reach peak performance, then the pull priority for this archetype increases to medium to high. Now from break team we move on to the remembrance team. Castoris banner will also be rerunning in the first half. For a character that has a global passive, I would not recommend anyone pulling a character just for this ability unless you really value that small quality of life. The same logic applies to silverwolf 999 as well. I would not tell people to pull her just for the crowd control immunity passive. But setting that aside, Castoris is a solid option for remembrance players. But again, only pull if you are committed to that playstyle. If you have been playing Remembrance team without Castoris, let's say a Grad infested every night, I don't see any reason to pull Castoris anymore, unless you want Castoris to be the main DPS and release 3B or even RMC for other team. But if the case is different, you only have E0 every night and desperately need another DPS to complete the team, I would suggest you to directly pull Castoris. Castoris' performance will be complete if you invest in her vertically, so if you have not yet pulled her signature LC, then I guess this is the time. And then if you are interested in her eidolons, I would suggest pulling her until the second eidolon only. If you are having a good time with your high invested Evernight or even have not started to build Remembrance roster at all, her pull priority will be low since it's going to be expensive, but she will become a high priority instead if your Evernight investment is still low. Moving on to the second phase, we are getting reruns for Sunday, 3B, and Facial. Let's start with the most important one here, which is Sunday. There's definitely a reason why Hoyoverse decided to play Sunday's rerun in the same phase as evanescia. Even during the livestream, they showed how Sunday can generate energy for Eva. So technically, it kinda makes sense if you think they have a perfect synergy, but to be honest, in my own personal opinion, I would not recommend you to pull him if your only intention is to use him in evanescia's team composition. Because we know that his value is more than just that, and who knows, since Eva is elation, probably her best in slot team will come in the future, that holds much greater value for her compared to Sunday alone. But after looking at the whole archetype, it is safe to assume that their own team composition is almost complete. So I guess Sunday is kinda lost now. He is a great buffer, but a team that relies on him is quite limited, thus decreasing his pull value. My best advice is to look at your own team needs first. If your setup benefits from having Sunday, then he's definitely worth considering. In addition, his S1 is quite good, mainly for energy regen, so his general pull priority in this meta is at medium level. And now for 3B reruns, to be honest, the same situation as Sunday, we are in a place where generalized supporters are kinda losing their value as more updates come. But we are talking about E0 3B here, so I think the case will be different if you already own her at E0 and wanted to upgrade her by pulling her first Eidolon. She can act as a replacement if your specific type of archetype is not complete yet. Let's say your dot team lacks Black Swan, 3B will surely replace her in the meantime. But if most of your teams are already complete with their specific or niche supports, I guess there's no point of pulling 3B anymore, unless you want to upgrade her Eidolon. So in general, her priority level sits at medium to low. As for Facial at E0 though, she's definitely not as strong as she used to be, especially since her best team requires Ashvale, which not everyone has. And even if you do have Ashvale, running him as the main DPS in that team can perform just as well. So realistically, there's no real need to pick her up at the moment. So Facial alone, as much as I love her because she once carried me throughout the many endgames, her pull priority for now can be considered low. At the end of the day, it really comes down to personal preference. If you like the character, don't let anyone stop you from pulling. So that's all from the 4.2 who to pull video. I hope this content can help you to reach a wise decision in terms of which is the best character to pull for your own account condition. So tell me in the comments, have you decided whose banner are you going to spend your jades on, or are you planning to skip 4.2 and save up for future units instead? If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button to support Cat Bolony, turn on notification as well so you won't miss out on any of my Star Rail content. I'll see you guys on my next one, bye bye!